Yo, what's up? It's your boy, the Insane Gang. Gang, 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 gang. Gang Greek, bragging up, building. It's your boy, the Insane Gang. Gang, 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 gang. Gang, gang, fuck! If this is left in, I'm gonna get demonetized. No! I'm playing. Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy, the Insane Game Freak here, back at it again with another video. So, I'll be honest with you. Pokemon has been in a weird spot for me, emotionally. The anime has gone in a different direction, and from while I've heard it's not bad, my interest is pretty low. It's been low just based off of what happened in the last particular anime series, so it didn't get any better. And now with the games, Scarlet and Violet really hasn't been for me. It feels like after I played the main game, I haven't had any interest and intention of buying the DLC, even with all the Unova callbacks in the DLC. And I find myself in 2024 wondering if I even still like this series, or if I ever liked this series. If you saw my video from not too long ago called The Problems with Modern Pokemon, that kind of makes me just feel like I've just gotten away from my enjoyment of the series or questioning it in its entirety. And so I made a decision. I said, why don't I try going back and playing a game from the very beginning to see if my enjoyment of the series is more out of habit than it is out of dedication. And so I played Pokemon Blue. And I know a lot of you have questions, but we'll get to those in a second. I just want to talk about my experiences with Pokemon Blue in 2024 and how I actually still feel about Pokemon as an IP, as a franchise. Especially with the looming fear that if we're sticking to the 3-year rule, more than likely next year we'll get Generation 10. Which means we'll be in double generation digits. I don't think that said that right. We'll be in double digits for the generations. The point is that, you know what, just talk about it. Let's talk about Pokemon Blue in 2024. So I imagine some of you probably already have some questions. Terrell, Mr. Insane Game Freak, why is it that you chose to play the oldest and the glitchiest version of Generation 1? Did you not want to play the superior remakes in Fire Red and Leaf Green or the Let's Go games? No, I think I just want to have a genuine experience with the original series. Like, at the end of the day, Pokemon became a mega hit through the original generation, through Kanto, through Red, Blue, and Yellow. So I wanted to experience them and all their pros and cons as its original. What about the ROM hacks? There's some ROM hacks that vastly approve upon. Yeah, listen, I know. It's 2024. There are way better ways to play Generation 1 if I really wanted to do it. That's not the point. I wanted to have an OG experience, the closest I could get without buying a Game Boy and just plugging in a copy of Pokemon Blue, okay? The closest I could get to that. And this was it, to play Pokemon Blue. Don't ask me any more questions. I don't handle well under pressure. So I guess the first thing that should be brought up is my team. So I told myself that in this particular playthrough, I wanted to try Mons that I never really tried in the original playthrough. Now, for those who don't know, I actually started with Pokemon game-wise through Generation 2. Silver was my first ever Pokemon game. I went back and played Red and Yellow. I had never played Blue, hence why this one I played Blue. So now I've officially played at least each Generation 1 game once. But as far as my team is concerned, I wanted to try a couple mons that I don't normally choose, which means no Charizard. Now, to give full context, I don't have that big of an affinity towards the Gen 1 starters at all. Charizard would have been my default because it's the coolest looking one out of the 3, but it's not like I overly love Charizard, and let's just be real here. Pokemon and Game Freak have made it really hard to keep loving Charizard because they won't ever let you forget about Charizard long enough for it not to matter. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. So I wanted to go with something different. So let's go through the team. Team is Blastoise, Hypno, Electrode, Flareon, Kangaskhan. And the funny thing is I wanted to use Hitmonlee. Fighting types is like my favorite type in Pokemon. I don't know if I've openly ever said that before, but I love fighting types to death. And I couldn't use Hitmonlee mainly because he's not really that good in Generation 1, partially just due to the fact that you get him kind of late, and the next few gyms that you can get him for, he isn't really good at. You can't use him really against Sabrina. He's not really good against Koga. He would do okay with Blaine, but like, I was like, you know what? It's between Hitmonlee and Kangaskhan. And I'm gonna be real with you, if I hadn't caught Kangaskhan as easily as I did through the Savari Zone, I probably would have just stuck with Hitmonlee. And I think Hitmonlee would have did okay, but Kangaskhan just had more versatility. Minus the terrible stat situation, which we're going to get into. So that's the team we're running with. So with that in mind, let's talk about the journey. Now I'm going to go through every single thing in terms of every area I was in, because it's not one of those videos. This isn't going to be an hour-long video where I talk about every little thing about Kanto, but I do want to talk about key things that stuck out to me. First things first, booting up the game and just landing in Pallet Town, you would think that, oh man, old graphics, old pixel chiptune music. Man, I felt like I was back at home. Took me back to a time where I was sitting in my bed as a kid, flipping on the Game Boy Color and just losing myself in the moment. People don't realize that when you don't have a lot of money and you only get one game at like every couple months, if that, or maybe like once or twice a year, you have to make each of these experiences last, which is probably why I liked RPGs so much. But it's a very nostalgic feeling, but I don't want to make that seem like the music isn't genuinely good on its own merit. The music for Kanto is really, really, really good. It doesn't get a lot of praise because we get all these crazy remixes and all these orchestra sound effects now, and everything's just so grand and bombastic. But don't take away from the simple charm of Viridian Forest, Lavender Town, Saffron City. Even the surfing theme, for God's sakes. Like, just don't let that distract you from quality audio just because it's not the newest thing out there. Also, when you watch the anime at this point, it's like everything's gonna be nostalgic. Like, if you were a fan of the original anime, there's nothing about Gen 1 that you don't remember. Even those of you who haven't played a Pokemon game in over a decade, you just don't forget Kanto. It's hard to forget Kanto. And Kanto's different. Kanto's weird, and you can tell it's very weird, and we were still kind of like, I don't know if this is going to become a big thing, but we're going to figure it out. You can really tell that through the Pokemon designs, because if you go back and look at some of the sprites for Gen 1, whoo, especially in blue and red, before yellow kind of fixed a lot of them, whoo, man, you could tell they were like, I don't know if this Pokemon's gonna look the way it does, but we're gonna give it a shot. The anime kind of locked down a specific style that you can tell they kind of kept with moving forward. But man, go look at Sandshrew, bro. Go look at Golbat, bro. Go look at Pikachu, bro. He lost a lot of weight, but some people miss his chubby side, okay? Pokemon, it's just like it's a weird, like, way back machine kind of way of just being like, this is Pokemon. And so you go through the process of talking to Oak, him explaining what he wants you to do, getting his package and delivering it to him, meeting your rival who isn't overly friendly to you and wants to start trouble all the time. And then I go on my journey and I try to figure out who I want on my team. Now, a lot of you probably noticed that a lot of the mons I mentioned are not early game mons. That means I had to figure out a way of getting through Brock's gym and Misty's gym with something until I got, because realistically the earliest mons I could get was Sandshrew and Drowsy, which you don't get until right before Lieutenant Surge's whole city. Like right before you get to Vermilion City, you can divvy off to the right and catch Sandshrew and Drowsy. So that means I had to figure out what I was going to do for mons up until that point. So I had some temporary mons that kind of served a purpose. One of them was Raticate. I really felt bad because I wanted to give Raticate a full playthrough shot. The problem is, it's painfully obvious that Raticate has never meant to be that mon. It's a shame and it sucks, but man, you can also tell that Gen 1 had some problems with the other mon I had. I decided to go with a female Nidoran, which obviously evolves eventually into a Nidoqueen. And I was like, I think I got a good solid pick against Brock if I don't want to play the water easy game with Squirtle. And then I looked and went, what level does the Queen learn Double Quick, guys? Or even its middle evolution? When does Nidorina learn Double Kick? Scrolls through the moves list. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it learns at like level 12, 13, 14, around there, right? No, that's Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow, it learns it at that level. Pokemon Red and Blue, it doesn't learn it until level 42. I forgot that Gen 1 has some weird choices about which moves Pokemon get, which moves Pokemon can learn. Like how Meowth for some reason can't learn Cut. You know, the cat Pokemon with claws can't learn Cut. Great. I also thought the HM thing would be more of a hindrance like it used to be. Didn't really feel like it, honestly. Once I had my mind set up, I just took L's for certain moves. To be fair, you can kind of get through the game without really teaching anything flash, right? Because the only area you need to use it in, which is the rock tunnel, actually is outlined in a way that you can kind of shift through the dark a little bit to get through it. It's going to be kind of a pain and it's going to feel like a fumbling. But if you don't want to waste flash on a TM slot, you can. That's what I would do. That's absolutely what I did, and it was absolutely exhilarating. And I kind of missed that. I missed that, like, I even missed the slog that were certain caves. One of the things about modern Pokemon that kind of sucks is that caves aren't really scary anymore, because they started making little spaces and divots to where you could heal, or they would put like nurses and stuff, which was a cool premise because it allowed you to do long treks of land with some healing. But I do miss the days, and Blue reminded me of it, where I could just kind of go through a string of a cave and a route and be like, oh my God. Like, I think the best example of that for me is when I was fighting in the SSN. The SSN, I thought at some point had a room of yours where you could go and heal. It does not. So that means when you go through the SSN and you do all those fights and whatever happens to your team, you have to leave the SSN and go back to the Pokemon Center to then go back into the SSN and finish the fights. And I was like, whoa, I haven't felt like this in the longest time, because it just wasn't happening. There were literally situations where I was going through and fighting a bunch of trainers and like, man, there's nowhere to heal. Even going through like the Silphco building and fighting all the rocket grunts. Whoa, I'm missing a healing spot, or I felt like it wasn't coming quick enough. I haven't felt that kind of pressure on me as a gamer in a minute from a Pokemon title. And it is truly a wonderful experience. A lot of people always make this argument that, well, look at all these advancements. One of the biggest things I noticed early on was, whoa, I don't have running shoes. But I kind of didn't mind it as much. I think one thing that gamers don't recognize is that there are certain inconveniences that can actually improve your gaming experience. I think people think that just because you're being inconvenienced or hindered in some way, that it automatically is a negative. But it actually feels like a trial you're overcoming, and that you have to get creative about how you handle certain situations. Like the SSN, for example, I could easily have gone back and healed. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just figure out a way of handling different enemies with different Pokemon, regardless of the things that may or may not be super effective. The main two things that also hurt me in that particular area is running out of PP, which is something I feel like never happens anymore. It feels like ethers and elixirs are irrelevant in later games. Don't really know why, but I think it's a part of that. It's a part of like the adventure and the struggle. I blacked out at least 2 times in the whole playthrough. Part of it was because the Gary fight caught me off guard, because although I knew it was coming, I didn't know how far I could walk before it triggered it. And when it triggered, I was like, oh, I'm about to struggle. And I still didn't hate it. Same thing when you get to Victory Road and you go through that, you're like, whoo, man, this feels like a legit struggle. And remember, they had the nerve to put Moltres in Victory Road. So you had to either say, I'm gonna go catch him right now, or I'll skip him and go get him later. Man, that's a crazy position to put you in. And it feels like modern games don't do that anymore. And that kind of sucks. But man, I missed it. I enjoyed it, and I missed that newer games don't do it. Another thing is going through some of these old Pokemon, I recognize which ones were more viable in this generation and ones that weren't viable in other generations. For example, if you saw my 2 shorts about Flareon and Magmar, that was a good example about fire types. And I was like, people talk a lot of trash about Flareon, but Flareon realistically has a lot of damage. The things that hurt Flareon is speed, which granted, in this game is probably a big deal due to crits. But Flareon can actually hold his own in terms of straight damage. In terms of hitting things, it's perfectly fine. And then I'm like, why don't everyone bring up Magmar? And part of it's because he's version exclusive, but I'm also like, but Magmar is also not good. So even if he's like the example of Heatran in Gen 5. You get him so late, and he's not absurdly good to be that late game of a Mon. Especially because in that generation, he doesn't evolve. Same thing with Heatran, doesn't evolve. So I'm like, why are you late game, sir? Because you have no value here. And that's not even getting into the argument that, fire types aren't really that helpful in Gen 1 anyway. So it's like, why did they put you here? And why are you version exclusive when Arcanine and Vulpix and Flareon exist? You realistically have no reason to use Magmar. Which is a shame, because that means that Mon never gets used. And then the funny thing is that the generation where you can get Magmar's evolution, Gen 4, I think that's a post-game evolution. So you can't even fully take advantage of it. Man, they gotta rethink some of these things. But yeah, just man, even Mons that I thought wasn't gonna be inherently good ended up being better than you would have expected. For example, Hypno gets a lot of trash. Hypno gets a lot of trash and doesn't get enough respect, which is weird because he's been weirdly consistent in certain gens, but he just doesn't get a lot of love because even though he's a psychic type, he's the second best psychic type next to, Mr. Alakazam over here, 2 spoons, mustache of the gods, who can hit and crit like nobody's business, and it's painfully obvious that Hypno's meant to be a more defensive psychic type, but let's be real here, psychic types have never really been meant to be used defensively, so the utility that Hypno has isn't really that valuable for most people, especially when you have the only reason why you would use Hypno realistically is the fact that Hypno fully evolves without you having to trade anything. But people would go out of their way to trade to make sure they got an Alakazam, because Alakazam essentially it's like a mini god of the game. It would be Mewtwo, but you don't catch Mewtwo early enough for it to be a god of the game. So it's like, what's even the point of playing the game at that point? You've essentially murdered anything and everything with your psychic type. But I appreciate the utility that Hypno does have, because it's more defensive. When I got the Sabrina's gem, I had 2 options. Die or power through it. And I said, you know what? I think Hypno can handle it. And Hypno can. Hypno still gets a decent amount of damage from Psychic. And I forgot that Psychic that's lower special, which didn't help anything. But Headbutt became consistently helpful. And I very much appreciate what he put in. Hypno put in his absolute work. Yes, his other 3 moves were Dream Eater, Hypnosis, and Psychic. But his Headbutt did its job and served a purpose you wouldn't think it serves. Another Mon I think that doesn't get enough credit is my boy Sandslash. Now Sandslash I believe is also version exclusive. But Sandslash doesn't get a lot of talk because it's just a pure ground type, and there are other ground types that does its job better in later gens. Even though it has a Alola form, people go, oh, it's part ice. Who cares? And I'm like, you know what? I want to give OG Sandslash a shot. And OG Sandslash was holding itself down. There are moments in this playthrough where my boy Sandslash kept winning. He refused to go down, and he was half the reason why I was able to go through the game.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got, sir.
Oh, Rock slide.
Damn it!
Oh,
Yeah, that's death.
That you're dead.
That's absolutely death, and he's gonna just do it for free again. Oh, let's go!
no!
Let's
Oh
go!
Oh,
Oh
what?
my god!
What?
Let's
That's
go!
Oh.
Wait.
Slash, yeah.
Oh,
My
Yeah,
son!
let's go.
yeah.
That's what I'm fucking talking about!
Good shit. Man.
Let's go!
Wow! Wow!
Don't let my boy, don't sleep on my boy. Let's get it!
Oh, he he survive a hyper beam and then the slash.
Hyper beam at like 65% health.
Exactly. He
Yeah.
wasn't even full HP. He had like 100 health left.
I'm that shrew. That little shrew. Don't ever let them talk bad about you in Generation 1. Because my boy, give that man a strong slash and dig, he's running rickshaw on anybody and everybody. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not good. Oh, man. The other thing about Generation 1 I forget about a lot is the fact that you have a lot of traversal options. So the order in which I've always done the gyms in Generation 1 is Brock, Misty, Lieutenant Surge, Erica, Sabrina, Koga, Blaine, Giovanni. But as I'm playing the game and talking with friends, I realize I don't actually think that's the order you're supposed to do the gym leaders in. I think the order actually is supposed to be Brock, Misty, Surge, Erica, Koga, Sabrina, Blaine, Giovanni. And some of you go, well, why do you think that? Because of how the area is set up. Remember, after you beat Surge, you had to go through the rock tunnel, and then you can't go straight through. You had to take the little path to go to Celadon City. And so that's where you fight Erica, right? That's also where you can get the drinks to let you through the pathways. And then eventually you had to go back to go to Lavender Town to use the flute you get in Celadon City to then wake up the Snorlax. Now, technically, there's nothing stopping you from waking up the Snorlax on the left side, so you can just go through and go down and deal with all the cycling road nonsense and then go to Fuchsia. Or you can go back to Lavender Town, do the whole Cubone Marowak stuff in the Ghost Tower, and then go down, deal with all the trainers, kill the Snorlax or catch it on the right side, and then continue to go down and do all the trainers down there, and then go into Fuchsia. And then after you beat Fuchsia, you can get the TM for Surf, and then you can go back up. Or like, I think that's the crazy thing. Kanto has like weird ways that you can do gym leaders in different orders, and it's crazy to me. I very much appreciate it though. It's very fun, and it almost makes me want to replay it again and do the gym leaders in the other order just to see how it is. I don't normally do it that way, but I feel like I should try to do it moving forward. I very much appreciated it. And I wish now it makes me want to experiment. I had a weirdly easy time catching the legendaries. Like at a certain point, and some of it's recorded, I just got an absurdly easy time about catching certain mons. Don't know why. This just seemed to be a really good playthrough for me.
Yeah, just throw
Throw Ultra Ball.
Into.
Yeah, we don't care. If it's asleep, I don't care.
One, two.
What the fuck is happening? What is happening?
And that was your third one.
There you
That
go.
was, yeah, three ball
Three
Mewtwo.
balls.
Alright, we're done. I'm fucking
Oh,
done.
that's
Very
pretty good.
good.
That was
That's
good.
it. Just end the game there.
That's
you don't
wild.
need to anymore.
That is fucking
That's-
stupid.
Uh,
That is the
One-
easiest
one
I've
ball-
ever caught him. But as an overall experience, Blue was fun. Still fun. It reminded me of the things I missed in modern Pokemon, but it also reminded me of what I like about Pokemon: the adventure, the exploration, putting yourself in tough situations and getting smart about how you weave in and out of different situations. Do you use the right items? Do you use the right TMs? Do you use the right HMs? Do you know multiple strategies? Do you know that crits are based on speed? So if you can outspeed your opponent, you can crit all day. Man, I was seeing crits like every single day. I'm like, yo, the game's about to change because I'm seeing crits every single day. Every single day. Like it was crazy. It's like I was stuck on repeat, dog. I'm so sorry, y'all. But my overarching point is that Pokemon Blue, for me, was an experience that just kind of showed there's a level of charm and wonder and amazement and strategy that I don't think any game captured for me at that time when I was younger. And I don't think I ever lost that love. I think I just forgot how much I loved it. And for me, that's indispensable. I low-key, I want to go back and play Generation 2. I want to go and play Silver and Gold for fun. I think when you grow up and you get a job and responsibilities, you kind of forget how to have fun sometimes because you've had to spend a long time of your life not doing those things, not having fun. You have responsibilities. You have a job. You may have a wife. You may have kids. You just have things you got to do. So when you sit down and game, you just want to have a cool experience, and everyone wants to pick up the shiny new game with the shiny new controller and the shiny new console. And no one wants to go back to that 8-bit game where I don't have any experience share. I can't catch a legendary in the first 5 minutes and all this other nonsense. And I'm like, why forsake those things if they were all bad? Because those things, regardless of how you feel about them now, were part of the reason why you got into those games and franchises in the first place. And for me, Blue still hits me like that. It's crazy to me that a game that's like 20 years old still has the ability to make me feel the way it makes me feel. And I just want to go pick up Gold and Silver. I'm not even joking. I low-key just want to go pick up Gold and Silver now. But, yeah. I would suggest if you're feeling kind of annoyed or burnt out with modern Pokemon, just pick up Blue or Red or Yellow or Gold or Silver. Just an older game that you grew up enjoying. And I promise you, you will still have an unforgettable experience even at the year of 2024 and beyond. It has its problems, but I genuinely believe that Pokemon Blue is still timeless. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for the support. It's been your boy, gang freak. And I'll catch you guys later. That's the gameplay to win. Peace. Pokemon dropped out.